Well, with me now to look ahead to those local elections are the Liberal Democrat MP for Kingston and Surbiton, Sir Ed Davey, Rehman Chishti, Conservative MP for Gillingham and Rainham, and the Labour MP for Ealing Central and Acton, Dr. Ruka Huck. Welcome to you all. Report there looking at some of the issues. I mean, what are the issues that you are encountering on the doorstep as you go around campaigning, and what are the issues that you are pushing in particular?
Well, issues like education funding, actually, in Kingston, in my patch, where not only have we seen Conservative on the funding of schools, but the local council's been adding extra cuts on top. Police cuts are a really big issue. In London, across London, we've seen rising violent crime. In my patch, we've seen increased burglaries, and people are really alarmed that the Conservatives cut back the police. And in southwest London, it's a real battle between the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives, and we may well make some gains there. But across the capital, and we're hearing actually even outside London, one of the real interesting things about this election is EU voters. You saw Carla on Laura's piece. EU voters couldn't vote in the general election, they couldn't vote in the EU referendum. They can now vote. And it's quite a big vote in London, but also in places like Peterborough. And if those EU voters who don't normally turn out, but decide to turn out this time to register their protest about Brexit, that could be one of the uncertain factors and surprise factors of the election.
What about one of the issues for
Yeah, very similar to Ed. Housing is always a big one. Hospitals in Ealing, we've lost 2 A&Es at Hammersmith and at Central Middlesex. The EU nationals issue is a big one as well. We have 13,000 of those in Ealing Central and Acton, and also just sort of non-UK citizens who are angry about the Brexit vote. I think that helped my majority boost by 50 times. I think last time, a year ago, I was on your programme when I had the smallest majority in London, second smallest in the country. Everyone thought I'd be a goner, but a lot of Conservative Ramonas came over to me because they're angry at the way Brexit has been done. They're still annoyed at the customs union, things like that. So those kind of issues.
What about for you, the Conservatives?
I've travelled around the country. I was up in Bradford the other day in Halifax looking at local elections, and I think what's coming across throughout, for me, is these are local elections on local issues mattering to local people. Whether it's rubbish collection, whether it's getting your child into the right school, protecting your green spaces, whether it's building enough houses in the local area. For us, these are local elections concerning local people, and I think at the end of the day, and they should not be seen as a way of, doing a protest vote against the government.
I mean, local government is practical bread and butter issues, and both of them are raising issues related to cuts, effectively.
Well, I think if you're talking about cuts, I think what I would say to Ed, we were in coalition from 2010 to 2015 when we had to make really difficult decisions because we were left.
Education. No, the Democrats stopped the education cuts.
The point I was saying is we had to make some difficult decisions because when we came into government, we had one of the highest budget deficits to go by. So together in government, we had to make some difficult decisions to ensure that we got the balanced approach. But on these issues, I would say this is a choice where Conservative councils throughout the country have always been lower taxes, better public services. And we saw, in Birmingham, I've been to Birmingham, you had, rubbish piling up on the streets, the Labour local authority not being able to deliver it. So I would say people on these elections should focus on who can deliver best local, cleaner, safer streets.
But isn't there always a pivot? People do want to pay lower taxes, but at the same time they want public services, and really that's what drives the pendulum in politics.
I think we've got a Conservative government that's been very good at displacing the burden of cuts onto local government. So people blame their Labour council or whoever it is. And also we've seen in Northampton a Tory council going completely bust. In Surrey we saw all those questions about social care and they were trying to have a bung from the Prime Minister. And I think Norfolk, Somerset and Lancashire, Conservative councils on the brink of going bust now as well. So
well, that's a story I
councils are not very well.
But lower council tax at the same time.
Well, Kingston Council, for example, along with others that we've just heard about, they are struggling because they're in real financial problems. It partly is central government cuts from the Conservatives, but it is also cuts and poor management by local Conservative councils. And if I can take up the point about cuts, what's really interesting in the coalition is, of course, there were cuts because we had a big big financial deficit. I don't disagree with that. But Liberal Democrats protected education. Michael Gove wanted us to cut it. We refused. We said we want the money to go to our schools. What happened after 2015? We saw the cuts. Michael Gove's agenda of cutting schools happening, and it's happening big time. And it's really, really worried parents and families. And the idea that we could clear up the financial deficit on the back of the future of our children is just unacceptable. And that's why the Liberal Democrat message on education is really resonating.
Do you think people are getting the message, though, that there has been this dramatic cut? I think a 40% cut in the settlement for local government. Are they saying to you that they feel that central government is being unfair?
Well, what I would say is, if you look at Conservative councils throughout the country, you have, for example, in Westminster, their children's service were the first to be rated outstanding. It talks about having less money, but it can't have it both ways. They're in government, and when we were in government, we made tough decisions, but we also made sure the budget for education was ring fenced so that people could get the right support. No, you can't take credit for things that were.
Michael Gove wanted to cut it, right? It's very clear. It's on the record. He wants to freeze spending on schools, and Liberal Democrats said no. What happened after Liberal Democrats left government? The Tories froze spending on schools. So the blame lies fairly and squarely at the Conservative door.
Liberal Democrat record on higher education not so good, though, is it? The sort of duplicitous claims before the election.
I mean, we've accepted that.
But I do think Conservative councils.
Still people raising tuition fees on the
Brexit's coming up far more, and I would agree that Brexit in my constituency is really, really big.
You offer tuition fees, and then you then got how many seats do you have at the 2010? Over 50?
Surprisingly enough, it's not news to us on that, but now we're fighting elections in 2018
on local issues.
But Brexit is also coming up.
What about the impact of external issues? Obviously, there's been a lot of national media focus on Windrush during this period. Do you feel that is affecting how people are going to vote?
I think it shows how the Conservative government have sort of misjudged the public mood, because there's outrage on the doorsteps at that. And for too long, we've had this sort of pandering policy with those go home or face arrest vans that drove around the London Borough of Ealing and other diverse boroughs. And there was a pilot project in only a few places. So, I mean, they've completely booed them.
I mean, it's interesting, just come through actually a YouGov poll, a current attitude to immigration. Conservative voters say it's too strict, not strict, too strict, 21%, not strict enough, 44%. Labour voters, too strict, 3%, not strict enough, 48%.
I mean, I think the Windrush fiasco, lots of people will know, people that were legally here, that were asked to come to this country to rebuild the nation. So that, I mean, there's lots of things there. Conflated illegal immigration.
No, I'm just thinking perhaps outside London, where there is this apparent... this what?
The chattering classes, were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that outside London, last time these seats were full, there was that big UKIP vote.
You showed Peterborough there in your film.
Is Labour going to be competitive for the UKIP vote, given those sort of attitudes by Labour voters?
The example you showed, Peterborough, that used to be a ex-Ealing councillor, Stuart Jackson, who was the MP, was a big leaver. That's now represented by Fiona Anasangwe, someone with an African name. I mean, that's progress. Labour took that seat, so they shouldn't take anything for granted.
I think what those figures show is people are concerned about illegal immigration. And actually, there's cross-party views that if people have broken the law and illegals, they need to leave. However, the harsh environment that Theresa May has championed, it's not. Hold on, let me finish. It hasn't just.
Deandra, you were in government with us.
Sorry, in 2015, you passed an Immigration Act which contained a whole lot of measures we'd stopped in the coalition. That 2015 Act, by the way, that's the culmination of the harsh environment. No, you're right.
You were at the table.
Do you disagree? Did you vote for the 2016 immigration? I didn't. And in the 2016 Immigration Act, the hostile environment came to its climax. So you are bearing far greater responsibility.
Let me just clarify the position.
I just talking about the facts.
The situation is this. The issue of what we did in government in tackling illegal immigration and also making sure that people who want to come here contribute can do so.
Agreed.
You were in government with us.
Agreed.
And therefore you can't be all things to all people. And I agree with you on illegal immigration, and I think Rupert would agree with me as well. We all have to make sure that those who come to this country, not for the right reasons, are dealt with firmly.
But the problem is to enforce illegal immigration toughly, doesn't that necessarily mean that you have to interrogate very harshly those
you need border checks.
Look, I think border checks. We, as a government, we did bring them in 2015. I sit on the Home Affairs Select Committee. There were working. But what I would say, final point I would say, these are local elections for local people and the Conservatives. Lower taxes, better services.
Okay, right. We got 1 minute left. You got 20 seconds each. Why vote for your party in the local elections tomorrow?
Ealing Council is an award-winning council now. It's not a loony left one like in the old days. And I think Northampton, a Conservative council that's gone bankrupt, is a salutatory warning to not vote Conservative. Lib Dems have vanished in our area.
Why vote Conservative?
Excellent local services, lower taxes, better services, proven track record across the country. See, for example, I would say in Westminster, Wandsworth, Conservative councils delivering, and look at the comparisons in Sutton, massive issue with bin collection, frontline services. We provide better local services for less.
And why vote Lib Dem?
Liberal Democrats will protect funding for our schools as a key top priority. We'll also keep campaigning against the cuts to our police, which have so irritated many people from all political persuasions.
Okay, thank you all very much indeed.